Welcome to the Market and Main podcast. I'm your host, Mike Peters, and today on the show we have Ben Quirple. He is an insurance broker, and his agency is based
Out of Frederick, Maryland.
out of Maryland,
Yep.
all the way up north, because we are today in Miami for the second episode from the 10x Business Bootcamp here in the Marriott, the just recently rated number one golf resort in Miami.
It's a nice golf resort.
It's a really nice
You're gonna
golf
have to come
resort.
back here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on here, and I'm just really glad that we crossed paths. There's so many awesome people at this conference, and if you haven't been to it, by the way, just a little plug for the 10x Business Bootcamp. It is awesome, awesome content. If you're trying to grow your business, if you're trying to make more money, this is the place to be.
Absolutely. Following that person for a long, long time, and even now with him not being so present anymore,
Mhm.
content is just great. Like I learned so much here for both of my businesses. This is really something where I'm like, oh wow, this is. I didn't even like when I came here, and I think we met before we went in there. So I thought, yeah, I'm here for the people only. I'm
Right.
still here for the people mostly, but the whole deal was like the what they presented was the systems that they presented. They're just awesome. Like I have not thought that I would learn so much here. I was really convinced that me following for so many years and like going through all the material before, all the books and everything, that there was nothing to be learned here. But I was wrong. Happens more often. So absolutely nice here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Through all that content, you always can pull out something new. And if you own a business and you have employees that are in face to face client interactions constantly,
Yeah.
bring those employees, bring your guys, your agents down here because they can definitely pull something
Yeah,
from the mindset.
especially if they're in anything administrative or in sales, because this
Absolutely.
is way more than just you know like it was like I don't know 10 years ago where it was really just sales,
Hmm.
mainly for automotive, car dealerships and stuff like that. Nowadays, it's really like how to build a business and how to build it right, how to put
Exactly.
it on pillars that will have it like set up even for a stormy day, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stormy days coming up, and I don't worry that much, to be honest, because I have the sales side and the marketing side figured out. But on the other hand, um, the structure of the businesses, they can always be improved. That's
Absolutely.
my opinion about that.
I agree. And in addition to that, setting your business up so that you're not going to plateau. It's awesome to have guys in there like Brandon um, who have built multi $100 million businesses that say, hey, once you get here, here's how you get to the next level.
Right.
So just having that perspective
Yep.
is necessary.
Absolutely. So, like me, like I have a corporate background. Like I worked in corporate, not in corporate America, but like in the corporate world in Germany back then. It's like I know how systems can work, right? They are put in place, and but you have to like if you have to build those systems, that's a totally different animal, right?
Right?
So we're talking about, I worked for Caterpillar back then. That's a company that is like I don't know 150 years old or something like that.
Okay.
They have systems in place. They were built over time, right? They didn't like they didn't start as a huge corporation.
Hmm.
They were like building tractors and that kind of stuff
Right.
back in the days, and then they developed into like a huge company. It was like over 180,000 employees at one point worldwide, but systems were built over time. Now, if you want to scale your business from, let's say, $1 million to like $100 million, then you need to build those systems in within your company. And if your goal is to like do that in within the next, I don't know, 10 years, then you better start building systems that work, right?
Absolutely.
That have to be improved over time, over and over again. It's a little bit different, and that's not only for sales, right? It's for everything, right?
Hmm.
Just like what blew my mind today was the whole deal was like how to hire people.
Yeah.
That was really something where I was like, wow, that's exactly what I needed, because I'm in the midst of like a hiring spree where I need a lot of people, especially salespeople, but also like content creators and editors and all that kind of stuff. Where this is gonna make it way easier for me to like weed out the bad apples.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
But out of that, what would you say is the main takeaway that you're going to begin implementing as far as hiring and selection?
Like the pre-screening, the
Pre-screening.
pre-screening when it comes to, you know, uh, skills. That's very important. And then also like, for the cultural stuff. It's
Right.
like seeing, does a person fit?
Mm-hmm.
Does it fit in, now that we have an existing team already? Does that new person, does it fit? Is it a complement to the existing team, or am I gonna like spoil the whole team with
Yeah.
adding someone new that maybe isn't so good of a fit?
One
In
rotten
the
apple.
beginning, right? One bad apple, but like it's also like in the beginning, when you build a team, everything grows together, right? And
Right.
then you can see, okay, does this fit? And then you create the culture in the team based on like the ingredients that you put in, right? So now this is already done, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like there is a team. There's a team, there's a culture. So now adding something new is going to be something different. So we have to see how all this works out. And like this new system that once I'm home, I have to like sit down, write everything down, and implement,
Mm-hmm.
will help with that a lot. So that was the major takeaway for me, is like the pre-screening, um way more important now that team is bigger than
Right.
when I had no team at all.
Right. That's the biggest takeaway for me as well, especially with a lot of agents coming in wanting to sell insurance, and we're trying to build a culture that's rather tight knit. We're mostly virtual, but we talk every single day. We're on 2, 3 Zoom calls every day, just touching base. Everybody's communicating, helping each other. That pre-screening, just to get rid of anybody who could potentially roil the or ruin the bunch,
Yep.
that's super important. Another thing I really liked was they mentioned in corporate America, you have such I guess it's a stigma and such a focus on finding people with experience. And that's great. Like, obviously, people with experience have that to bring to the table, but it doesn't always mean that they're a good fit for your culture,
Right.
the culture that you have. And it's almost better 9 times out of 10 to find somebody with zero experience, has a really strong mindset and good work ethic that you can bring in and mold how you want them to be, rather than bringing in somebody who's already set, stuck in their ways, old
Right.
ways that might not fit you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's something to be said to that too. In depending on what it is, sometimes you just need experience,
Yeah.
right? I have like
Yeah, true.
two different businesses where they couldn't be like further apart, right? I
Mm.
mean, I use one business to the other because for me, they were both on one hand, right? They were like, I needed the other one to grow this one, like the first one. But like in their core, like they couldn't be further apart, right?
Right.
One is like industrial automation, staffing, and training solutions, and the other one is media, right? It's
Hmm.
like social media marketing, content marketing, and all that kind of stuff. Where in in one, I would not try to take someone that is inexperienced and had no previous experience, because that would mean that would slow everything down, or eventually even like lead to damages in equipment or even people, right? It's very different than you know h- I had someone like Malachi, right? Malachi didn't have the experience before,
Hmm.
but he learned so fast, and the work ethic was there, that I
Hmm.
had no problem doing that, because he wouldn't I knew he wouldn't destroy anything, and he wouldn't like endanger anyone's life, right? Was
Right.
that kind of work. If anything would have gone wrong, if I would have made the wrong pick, then that's on me. But the only bad outcome of that would have been delay in production,
Right.
but not like anything destroyed or anyone harmed or anything like that.
Hmm.
But if I do that in the industrial automation world, then I'm always at risk to that someone gets hurt, or that equipment breaks, a project gets delayed. And I'm talking about like um, we have production lines where we just you know we're in two jobs where we built the battery assembly lines of two major OEMs, car manufacturers, right?
Okay.
If we would have broken something there,
Hmm.
like significantly, because we had like inexperienced people, that would have slowed down not only us as a company or our direct customer or that part of the sale, if the line doesn't work, it doesn't work. Meaning like those the car production of this specific electric vehicles,
Hmm.
you know, would have been delayed by a month because there
Everything
was
stopped.
there was no spare parts on site either.
Right.
It's like we destroyed this because we're not doing our job correctly.
Hmm.
That's a totally different animal than, hey, you know what? We actually we recorded a podcast 2 weeks ago, you know, and I took it on me too, without like turning on the microphone, you know.
Right.
So we sat there for over an hour, was a business partner of mine, and as well as like a friend, and you know, someone that wanted to promote his business, gave me 1.5 hours of his time or even more because he had to drive there and drive back, and there was nothing to be delivered to him, you know.
Right.
That's bad, but no one got hurt, right?
Right.
Nothing broke, you know. We said, okay, we'll make up for that, you know, but that's all that can happen, right?
Right.
Huge difference. But in a lot of positions, I agree with you. You know, I would rather hire for attitude than for skills.
Yeah.
You know, because I can train skills, I can't train attitude. Like
Right.
impossible.
Yeah.
Like you are the person you are.
Yep. And that's exactly my focus. It has been, but implementing some of those strategies that she talked about are just going to take that to a whole new level. And I think we're really going to have an advantage in finding some of the best talent that's out there in the market, ready, willing to work, willing to be a part of building your vision at the same time they're building theirs.
Right.
So tell me exactly, just break down for me, what does your marketing company do and who is your ideal customer?
So, well, we have multiple ideal customers. So we
Okay.
have like we have the two industries where I do have personal insight. You know, I'm like in manufacturing since over 20 years.
Right.
So for me, it's like that's a no-brainer, right? I know what kind of needs they have. I know exactly, you know, how I can help them. You know, we do content marketing, like we produce the content for them. We create a strategy first, and follow through on the content, and then we post everything for them. So really, like, depending on who is behind the products or who is behind the company, we can do one of two things, right? We have a huge part of our content creation is podcast, right? But podcast is only for certain kind of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I, for example, I always bring this example because we just had a meeting with a bank, right, where the bank was like, there's no owner, that's not family owned or anything. The owners of the bank are stakeholders, right? They're investors, you know, multiple investors. There's no one person or like one group of people behind it. So I said, you know, I don't see this being the product for you because first of all, you have the compliance problem, also like, you know, in your industry, but at the same time, it's like, do you want to like tell employees to like go somewhere and be like, well, you sit down there and like talk to a guest or whatever. Like they don't even know what to talk about. Plus the thing is that most employees of a larger company, they're like, why would I do that? That's not my job, right?
Right.
So that's not for them, and the same is true for a lot of like manufacturing companies where, you know, they have very like they have like products that need a lot of explanation, need a lot of education to understand, maybe and you know, they're also like publicly held or whatever. So maybe a podcast isn't right for them, but explaining their products and answering specific questions, let's say on YouTube and on other platforms, that's more the route I would go for them. At the same time, you know, if you have a family-owned business that, you know, do manufacturing or have a proprietary product where the owners are like, yeah, I want my name out there too. I want to like push our brand, our family brand, and all that kind of stuff. Then I think a podcast would be good because they could invite, you know, other industry leaders on their podcast and talk about, you know, relevant stuff. You know,
Absolutely.
that is something where, you know, the what this does, especially this podcast thing, right? If you record a podcast of 1 hour or more per
Mm-hmm.
week, that creates so much content for you that you cannot produce that much content any other way that easy. Because
Yeah.
what is it, right? We have the workload here is what we have a podcast producer, yeah. In our case, it's Malachi over there, and Malachi sits there for the hour that we talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
He live, you know, he does live video mixing, meaning like I don't have much post production for the actual podcast, right? It's a 1 hour clip. We cut the beginning and the end, so there's a clear start and end, and then we post this to YouTube. So you have your content up there. Then we can extract the audio and post it to like Apple, or we post it to like Spotify or wherever you want to be present
Mm-hmm.
for people that want to listen to audio only, right?
Right.
At the same time, we can then give it to the post production people, and they chop out like good moments that were in there that are like between 30 and 45 seconds or 60 seconds sometimes, right? That we can extract and like post to all those like short form platforms like TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, Likey or whatnot, right? So there's another like 4 to 5, sometimes 10 pieces of content, depending on how that conversation went, that you can utilize and post everywhere, right?
Right.
Plus, you have all those ideas that come out of that, quotes, right? You say
Yep.
something smart, you put that on the still, you put it out there, right? That's all content that comes out of there that gets you to the volume that you want to be, right?
Absolutely.
So that is like basically what we do. Who we do this for, like I said, manufacturing companies, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We do it for real estate agents. I've been a realtor in Chicago for years, so I have a lot of like insights out of the real estate industry on how, for brokerage, how to get new agents and how they do that currently, and how much that sucks,
Right.
and how hard that is, because their biggest problem from a investor point of view is like, how do we get more agents,
Yeah.
and how do we get more quality agents that identify with our culture, right?
Yep.
Because culture is always a big deal, right?
Absolutely.
No matter what industry you're in, unless you're like a Fortune 500 company, then you don't care that much anymore, because your people become a number, right?
Right.
They're like not really involved in it. That the human gets out of that, and that's why I don't like to work for corporate as an employee. I didn't like it. I worked for Caterpillar, what is like a huge company. I just didn't like it because I wasn't worth anything to them other than, you know, a number. Like literally, I had a number for everything. It's like, what's your number?
Yeah.
Like, what's your employee number? And I had to say that if I talk to HR, they always wanted my number because that's all I was to
Right.
them. So that's different. But if you're like a small business or medium-sized business, then that's way different because the culture matters, right?
People always want to feel like they're a part of something. They always want to feel like they are part of a bigger vision, either somebody else's bigger vision that they're able to contribute to, and it's the job of the leader to get them on that track, and that's really what culture essentially is, or their own vision, painting a picture, hey, this is how you move up. This is how you become successful. And I'm sure that's exactly what your main pitch is, as you're working through content with different realtors, is how do we appeal to other agents? How do we show them the positives, negatives, the benefits? Do you guys give them ideas for content?
Well, we do that too, but also like the huge benefit is that because we're like we're setting this up locally.
Okay.
It's like we're in Dayton, Tennessee. That's just north of Chattanooga, just south of Knoxville, just east of Nashville. So we're in the middle. It's like we're in the middle of East Tennessee.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna do that right now, and then our first satellite office will be in Chicago, where I have a lot of contacts there already. Plus, we have like a direct connection flight from Chattanooga to Chicago. It's like a little bit over an hour. It's like
That's
basically
So
it takes me as long to go from Chattanooga to Chicago as it takes me to go from like Knoxville to Chattanooga. So
Wow.
by car, right? So
Yeah.
that's something, if I time that right, I'm gonna be in Chicago faster than I'm in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Atlanta is the next town over, basically. So
Right.
that's like we're setting this up locally. So what this does is that the let's say an agency gets this service in, right? They don't have like the broker doesn't like the owner of that company, the investors, right? They don't have to do the podcast. What this does to them is this: you say you have one or two moderators on that show, right? Where it's like, okay, those are my top agents, top producing agents, or whatnot, or anyone else that wants to come on the show, and you give them the opportunity to come and create content,
Mm.
right? And now what this created is you have a marketing tool for your agents. No one does this.
No.
If you like, I've been a realtor, and I've talked to a lot of realties over time.
Mhm.
Every realtor, or just someone that just got licensed, right? Every realtor is going to ask the same question to you
Mhm.
as a realty, and that is, are you giving me leads?
Right.
And the answer is always going to be no.
Mhm.
They're going to tell you you can do a floor service, like where you have to sit in the realty, that if someone runs into the door, that you actually, get the business. But to be honest, like no one runs into the door, really.
Right.
Like it's very, very, very rare that that happens, right?
Right.
There's not much business coming out of that.
No.
The same thing is like open houses, right? They always ask them to sit at open houses. But if you become a realtor and you're like part of like a realty, you will realize pretty quickly that the top producers, they ask you to sit their open houses
Okay.
because there's not really any leads coming out of that either.
Right.
Right. So I'm not saying none, but
Mhm.
not very many. It's not worth the time. You can in that like 2 or 3 hours that you sit there on a Sunday morning or a Saturday evening, you could as well create content and get way more exposure to today as you know in that open house.
Right.
So now, if you sign up with us, you suddenly have a lead generation tool.
Right.
Like you're not trying to sell homes, but you're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to sell your culture. You have this tool for them now that you can use, right?
Right.
So the whole deal is like we do this 1 hour podcast every week, right? Once a week, 54 podcasts, meaning like one every week, and then you have two for special occasions like 4th of July or Christmas, Thanksgiving, or whatever you want, right? Something that is like important to your local business. And the same is true not only for realties but also for insurance agencies, right? You want to showcase your customer, your culture, right? And not to your customers necessarily, then to other agents,
Right.
right? If you get a lead from that, because as a realtor, at least, what happens is like, if someone wants to move into a new area, the first thing they do is like, is this area safe?
Mhm.
Does this area have good schools? Something like that, right?
Right.
It gives you the opportunity as a realtor or as a realty to say, you know what, I'm gonna do interview like the local school principal. I want to know what the school is about. I want to
Mhm.
know, like I'm gonna go and like interview local business owners, like what kind of restaurants are there? What kind of people run those restaurants? How does the food taste? Like all that kind of stuff is something that people want to know.
Right.
So you're kind of developing not only your realtors, but also your realty into like a neighborhood or like an area specialist, right?
Right.
So whenever they Google something, you're going to pop up with one or the other video, right? On top of that is we're producing a video for any of your agents or for anyone for any topic, if you want, like neighborhood videos and everything that isn't directly selling a home, because there you're hit with like compliance laws, right?
Right.
You cannot do that without like making sure that everything is in compliance with like Fair Housing Act and all those kind of laws. You don't because you're not talking about like selling you a home. You're talking about yourself, you're talking about your culture, you're talking about your neighborhoods. That's not try try selling by not selling.
Yeah.
That's basically the formula here. It's free stuff, searchable content that
Yep.
we do. And then again, like from the get-go, the time that the realtors or the realty has to spend on that is about 2 hours a week.
Okay.
Instead of like we're producing so much content for you, but instead of like spending like a combined, I would say like 120 to like 200 hours a week, between editors and like strategists and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You spend 2 hours and we do the rest for you. Meaning
Wow.
like we have the workload, right?
That's a value.
But we do everything for you. The only thing you have to do is like sit down and talk.
Right.
And I know those realtors, they can talk.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and the same is true with insurance agents, because that's what you make your living of, right? You talk
Absolutely.
to people.
Yep.
So now you're like you get the opportunity to actually make a difference, because
Yep.
now you're going to be all over the place. Now imagine this. Imagine you do this and how that compounds, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, 1 hour podcast makes minimum 4 to 5 shorts out of that, right?
Right.
We can do as much as, I would say, I don't know, 15 stills out of that.
Mhm.
You have the podcast, you have the audio podcast, and then also what comes out of that is like if you talk about a topic like we do right now,
Mhm.
right? that's going to be a 5-minute stretch that you then can put on YouTube as searchable content
As a specific
as a
topic.
specific topic, right?
Right.
Where you're like, okay, and then how to blah blah blah, right? And then you just type it in, and you have searchable content where with a nice, thumbnail on it and whatnot. Then you develop yourself into like a very knowledgeable person
Mm.
where there's an answer to your specific question that I just answered without trying to sell you anything.
Right.
But people do that. They will realize soon that you are knowledgeable and that you are the authority in your space. And if you're the only one popping up in your neighborhood, then that's going to be like, okay, so now, well, I have this job offer. Now I'll Google the area. What is safe? You tell me everything that is safe. Well, you know what? They seem to be experts. So instead of like statistically speaking, like if you're on a real estate journey, you decide to buy a home, you're doing that within the next 8 to 10 weeks.
Right.
That's statistically, right? You're going to go with the first agent that crosses your path.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
The first agent, right?
Set
Who was
timeline.
that first agent? The blog that wrote about the neighborhood, because like someone got murdered like 15 years ago or whatever. Or was it you that tells the people actually, how safe it is, how good the schools are, how good the restaurants are, and all that kind of stuff, in multiple different videos or, in stills and whatever. You're going to be the first agent crossing their path.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, you're only one click away from like retargeting them then through an ad and say, hey, you know what? If you're planning on buying a home in area XYZ, give me a call. Just click this link, make it easy for them.
Right.
There, you comply with all the laws, right? Because it's an ad. But before that, that wasn't an ad. That was just you talking about a neighborhood without ever saying that you want to sell anything to you. I don't have a house to sell to you. I sell the neighborhood to you. That's way more powerful than anything else.
Absolutely.
And then again, with those extra videos that come on top of that, you're ending up like really posting like 3 to 4 times a day per platform every day.
Right. And if I'm a new realtor and I'm coming straight into the business, like you said, number one question is, what leads do you guys offer? And the most powerful leads, you and I both know this, but just for everybody listening, the most powerful leads right now that I have seen, other than your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, people who are related to you or personally, are social media leads. People who reach out, they see what you're posting every single day.
Yeah.
You're in their face. You're constantly bombarding them with quality information that you're
And
giving to them for free.
You nailed it. Was that one? Quality is that's the reason. Like quality, and I'm not talking about production quality. I'm talking about value, right?
Yes.
Content value, meaning like I mean, hopefully those videos are nice too, from a production quality, but it's really the content that matters. It's not. Do you have realtors in your list? I bet you have.
I do.
So
Absolutely.
what do they all do? Like what type of content do they post? Just listed, just closed,
And just pictures of homes and just
themselves.
sold.
It's like call me.
And
It's like it's ad. There's no value added with those posts.
Absolutely.
Nothing. It's super annoying. I unfollow you. At least like I don't want to unfollow you as a person, but like I don't look at it anymore. And the way this works on Facebook and Instagram is the algorithm takes care of that. Because if you don't look at it, it won't show it to you anymore. It's like I have friends on my friends list that I don't see anything posted anymore.
Right.
Not because they don't post, they do, but Facebook knows I'm not that interested, so they show me stuff that I'm interested of.
Yep.
Right. So that's very different than like I see all that because I'm interested because I make fun of them for still doing that because that was the training already in 2012. Right. Do this. It's great. You show you're busy. You show you're knowledgeable. No. But that's what they tell them. The training is always the same. And it doesn't matter which realty it is. Every realty franchise, no matter what it is, they all operate under somewhat the same premise, right? It's all like, we're so great. We give you all the tools, all the training. We're a number one training company, right? We have all those technology. I was like, well, you're very late.
It's all outdated.
It's all outdated already.
All outdated.
You think because you now added all this to it, you're training people on stuff that was relevant 5, 6, 7 years ago, or even longer ago.
And really, what you're doing is creating robots, having that sort of training rather than doing something like you're doing, promoting that individual agent's creativity, empowering them to go out and build their own business
Like,
rather than saying, hey, you have to post a picture of every single home, every single contract you get as a deal.
who
And
cares?
it,
Who cares? I don't care. All
yep,
right. If I'm in the market to rent or buy a home, I don't care that you just rented or bought something. I
yep,
was like, okay, can you help me getting it, like, get a showing?
yep,
Yeah. Okay. Can you help me? I can do that too. You? I can do that too. Where's the benefit? The
yep,
benefit is you're here.
yep.
That's all. You're the first one, right?
That, and if I'm going out and buying a home, I don't want to do business with a robot that just consistently posts stuff that I'm not interested in. I want to do business with a person,
Right.
somebody who I could see myself being friends with down the road, and having all sorts of content, posting pictures of family, on holidays or whatever, or sitting down here and going a little bit off topic and posting maybe a clip or two that has nothing to do with real estate.
Well, and that's the point. It's like it shouldn't have anything to do with that because
Yes.
it's one thing is like talking about, um, you know, well, I just had a podcast. We talked about dogs for like I don't know, half an hour. It's like we're both into dogs.
Right.
That's fun.
Yep.
It's not about that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like this is not like sell, sell, sell. This is I'm giving you value for free, and we're all over the place. If you Google me, who's the first thing that pops up?
Yeah.
It's me, right? I want that to be true for everyone. It's like if you Google me, then I should be the first one popping up, right?
Hmm.
So I want to create something like that for the people, for the realties also, right?
Absolutely.
If you see content, if you Google, for example, right? Another thing is this: help new realtors, right? With knowledge. Here's training. I put it, a lot of people do that already. Put it on YouTube. Put it on YouTube. They do it and they did it like a lot of realtors did this,
Hmm.
like not realties, but realtors did this because they wanted to show that they know how to sell your home, right? Um, but then what they had out of that, they trained a lot of other realtors, but the only thing that came out of that was like, hey, you know what? If you know someone, I'm based out of like California. If you know someone that wants to move to California, send me that link, that lead. I pay you like a referral fee.
Mm.
So that's how they did that, and that was working great for them. But that's also something that you can do for your, produced videos where you answer specific questions, like give better training to your real, like maybe not even your realtors, but any realtor, and say, hey, you know what? This is how we roll here at XYZ Realty.
Hmm.
The value that you give, being
Absolutely.
like in front of their mind, and then also like, um, if you right now, here's how that works. You're a realtor. You're like take your exam, right? That's all like highly regulated by the states.
Right.
Same with insurance agents.
Yep.
I would assume. So you hit your exam, right?
Yep.
And you're like, you, you make it the first time or second time or whatever. What happens is like, I would say about a week later, and then from there on forever, forever,
Hmm.
right? You get postcards, like physical postcards in your mail.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
do you want to be our like? We're so much better than everyone else. We also send you postcards.
Right.
And that goes like in the
I throw everything in the trash.
right. So the thing is this, like, how much money you spent on that?
Yeah.
Like how much money do you spend, like especially in a market like Chicago, where I know like there's I don't know how many thousands of realtors in Chicago,
Mm.
same in New York or whatever. The thing is that how do you pay for all of that?
Yeah.
like like what where's the return on investment? Like how many of those people are actually being like, oh, oh, that's so original, like I haven't gotten any other postcards,
Right.
right? So that's something where I was like, okay, you want to be like everyone else,
Hmm.
because that's really what real estate, the agent side, the brokerage side is about. Um, not I have to take that back. Not every brokerage is the same,
Hmm.
because they like some of them really like got it, and they stick out with like content marketing and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
but not very many. Some just stick out was like just having an amazing culture, right?
Yes.
So I just had Josh Weinberg from Weinberg and Choi from Chicago on the show 2 weeks ago. I was a realtor in their office, right?
Hmm.
I know the culture is just like unmet anywhere,
Yeah.
but not every realty is like that, right?
Hmm.
They're one of the biggest realties in Chicago right now. They're top 10 producers. 3 offices, 400 agents,
Wow.
right? That's something that not every realty is like that
I
because the most
imagine the majority
the
aren't.
the majority they send you postcards.
Yeah.
They don't have to send out any postcards
Right.
because people know that agency, that brokerage is just cool to work for, right?
Yeah.
But how are you gonna get from selling 150 million in real estate to a billion,
Yep.
right? How does that work as a realty, right?
Yeah.
You need more agents,
Absolutely.
and you're not gonna get them like this,
No.
right? It's
Yep.
like referrals, word of mouth, and cutting through the high turnover. That's a major problem in real estate too. 80% of realtors that get licensed today are not going to be in business anymore 12 months from now.
Wow.
80%
Wow.
out of business
I
because you know uh maybe a little bit differently than in insurance. um it's the type of people that get into it. They're like, oh, it's easy, like quote unquote easy, right?
mhm.
Because yes, I have to get licensed and all that kind of stuff. That's the hard part about it, getting through that, they think. But then it's easy. I don't have to show up. I can work on my own pace and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people just don't hold themselves accountable enough to actually show up and dial up the people, and try to like utilize social media to actually generate leads, right?
Right. And that's a primary issue of what I run into a lot is having people who get their license and then never sell anything, right? And then they give up really quickly. I think that number one, I want to talk about culture just really quick. If you have an electric culture, the type of culture like we're in this group right now, and this conference, everybody is constantly pushing, everybody's always positive, and on the bad days when you've gotten 100 no's to your face and they sent you walking home with nothing in your pocket at the end of the day, that culture is going to bring you back up. So that's one of the primary things I would be looking for as a new real estate agent. And how do you display that culture? It's social media.
Right.
It's showing the energy in your office. It's hopping on a podcast with another agent and just having a conversation about how excited you are to be there.
Exactly.
And then the other thing I would say is setting expectations. Like once that person is drawn in, once a new agent is licensed, or even before they go through the licensing process, sitting down with them and saying, hey, listen, it's not easy. Nothing in sales is easy,
Right.
right? It's going to be very tough. You're going to have bad days. You're going to want to quit, but it's very simple once you learn the process. And if you have systems and processes in place,
But how do you get that known, right? That's
right?
that's the whole deal. It's like you're not gonna make that with postcards. Like
Yeah,
that's for sure. Plus, on the other hand, like what a lot of realties um ignore or don't see coming. Like you're competing. Who are you competing with? It's not only the other realties for agents.
hmm
It's going to be Zillow. It's going to be those companies because they want to be brokerages. So they want to like cut out the middleman and say, hey, you know what? You can have a one-click buy here.
I've never thought of that.
It's really
That
that.
makes sense,
It's like they want that, and they're not even shy about it.
right?
Right now, it's kind of like Uber, right? So Uber wants to be like self-driving cars, you know, like doing all the work for them, picking up people, like driving them around, driving food around, and all that kind of stuff. And it will come like that, right?
Right.
Give it another 10 years, and that's probably going to be a reality.
Yeah.
But they do all that on the drivers that they have right now, meaning like, so the drivers actually get rid of their jobs. There's a lot of people out there right now, they make a full-time living on Uber.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of people still do that on the side, but there's a lot of people that do that full-time, and they make a good living, right? They're not going to be ever going to be rich, but they make a good living on that, right?
Right.
So they are basically making sure that they're putting themselves out of business like that. It's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because Uber makes like, at some point they will make money, like real money,
Yeah.
and then they're like bridge the gap from like there's not enough safe enough self-driving cars right now, but now they are. Oh, by the way, we don't need you anymore. Bah.
Mm.
So now all those drivers that made Uber big now suddenly don't have a job anymore. Now they might not be the same drivers anymore, but like the whole deal behind that. Same with Zillow.
Mm.
Zillow right now becomes super big. It's free for you as a customer.
Right.
It's not free for the realtors.
Yeah.
So they pay a lot of money to be like shown as the top realtor or whatever. You pay so and so much money. I got those phone calls. You know, like I said, I know the industry from the inside out.
Right.
I know the type of like lead gen money you pay to Zillow if you want to be, you know, like buy so and so many leads in your zip code, right?
Right.
So plus there's a set amount of time. There's waiting lists for those zip code numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's like, okay, that's a nice lead gen, but right now what you do is like you feed Zillow to put you out of business.
Yeah.
So that's that's the
They're gonna
harmful thing about that.
I've never thought of that, but that makes complete sense. And basically, what you're saying is eventually they're going to run out of a home. They're going to run out of a home, and unless they can find a way to create their own lead generation via social media, um, they're out. Another thing I thought about is if I'm a new agent coming in insurance or in real estate, I have a lot of agents that come straight out of college. Yeah, I want to get into a sales position. I heard it's really good. They have no experience. They can talk to people, but they have no money. You can't go buy $2,000 worth of leads if you don't have $2,000 to buy the leads. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they have to figure out first organically how to generate business. And even if they wanted to supplement leads down the road, which after you figure out how to do it organically, it doesn't really make sense to do that.
Also, those leads are not that good.
Right.
That's what I heard. Like every insurance agent I talked with about lead generation and all that kind of stuff, marketing. It's horrible. Like there's like, oh, you know what? The the amount of money you pay, and the leads are just not that good. And then you also like the lead generation tools that are out there is like mostly websites, like comparison websites and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Um, they're also like they're giving you leads, but then like you're competing with like 150 other agents that call the same number.
Exactly.
So and then like the someone actually told me that the older leads are actually like easier to close because they're over this point where not very many people call them anymore because the hype is really the first 4 weeks where your email account is like flood. You basically get nothing else. It's like
Mhm.
trying to like shop for a used car. Do that, and give them the email address like on used car salesman sites. The next few months, you can buy 15 cars basically a day because that's how much they flood you, and that's like you don't see the trees for the forest anymore, right?
Right.
So that's very dangerous, and like, but you spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
And
how do you generate leads?
yeah, so our primary way of generating leads right now is like lead generation via Facebook, YouTube, and those are all ads. So those are like paid ads.
Mhm.
We're also working on giving agents the resources, especially after this business boot camp, the resources to go out and be creative, generate leads organically. But right now, it's primarily Facebook, YouTube, and those are all self run because there's all of these companies, these marketing companies out there that just resell leads to 100 different people. What good is that if I have to have somebody make 500 phone calls before they make a single sale,
Right.
you know? And then pay for all 500 of those names and numbers to call. So that's our main way of generating leads right now is all self set up, self run Facebook, YouTube ads. And that's been working very good. We started off, we only had third party lead vendors.
Mhm.
Absolute nightmare.
So what do you pay for a lead now?
So right now on Facebook, we're looking at about $9 a piece. And we have it really fine tuned geographic location, age, and demographics and everything that we want to get to that price. I've heard of people paying $20 per lead on Facebook. I've also heard of people that are just, you know, throwing it like a shotgun and getting $5 a lead on
Okay.
Facebook.
So so you say like $9 roughly, like
Yeah, about
um,
$9 is average.
and then what's the conversion rate like?
So the conversion rate is roughly, it depends on the agent, but roughly 1 to 9. So if you're paying $9 for a lead, you're paying,
So roughly 10%.
yeah, roughly 10%. The average sale is going to be about $800 commission.
Okay.
So it's a pretty solid ratio with those leads. With the third party lead vendors, if you're out there and you're using a third party lead vendor right now and you're in insurance, you need to stop. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and you're wasting your agent's mentality, because they're coming in, some of them may have never been in a sales position before, and you give them leads that 100 people have called and are 5 years old, and they're probably even too old to qualify for the insurance at that point, and you have your agents calling them for 8 hours a day.
Right.
That's going to be draining.
Right.
They're going to be out the door before you know it. So figure out how to create leads for your agents, or show your agents how to create their own.
Right.
Yep.
Like, get known in the space. Get known locally. Have value to give.
Absolutely.
So, if someone wants to reach you, like, do you have an Instagram handle?
I do. It's at Ben Quirple. That's BenQuirple. And cell phone number, if you want to hit me up, if you're in the insurance space, have any questions at all, or finance, it's 240-938-4295.
All right.
So,
well, Ben, thank you very much. It was
absolutely.
a pleasure.
It was
for
great
being here.
talking to you. Let's do it again next time we're in the same area.
Absolutely.
So.